My
Good afternoon. This is Doug Holder. We're here, poet to poet, writer to writer, with my good friend and bagel bard and author of Human Scale, an environmental love novel, Kitty Beer. And Kitty lives in the Republic of Cambridge, but we still like her. And but she is a Somerville bagel bard. Let me just read a introduction to Kitty. Take it from her book, The Human Scale, which is available on Amazon.com and at Porter Square Bookstore, right?
Yep.
Cambridge.
Porter Square Books, yep.
Kitty Beer's stories and articles have appeared in print and online in the U.S. and Canada, including her work as an environmental journalist. Her screenplay Home, placed in the 2004 International Screenwriting Award Contest. She is a member of the National Writers Union, PEN New England, and the Society of Environmental Journalists. Kitty Beer grew up in New England and raised her two children in Canada, Germany, and upstate New York. She holds her BA from Harvard University and her MA from Cornell University. As we said, she's a very educated woman. She now makes her home in Cambridge, where she is active in political and environmental affairs. Human Scale, which we'll be discussing today, is her second novel, a sequel to What Love Can't Do, that came out in 2006, which took place in the 2040s. And the main characters are new, but some minor ones reappear, and What's Left of Boston continues as a major backdrop. She's currently worked in a third novel, and she loves writing, and I'm glad she's here. Kitty, I was going to ask you, in spite of all this dire stuff in your novel, oh no, that's another question. You were an environmental journalist for years. Did books like Rachel Carson's Silent Spring inspire you? What got you going on this?
Well, Silent Spring is very, very inspiring. But also, I think I was working on the nuclear arms race before that, and I wrote a booklet called In Your Hands, A Citizen's Guide to the Arms Race, which we published ourselves, but it sold all over the world, and there was a huge demand for it at that time. That was in the early 80s. And when we finally were able to damp down the arms race, a lot of us in that particular, in that mindset, switched over to environment, and that was when I started getting really concerned. I think it was through the concept of nuclear winter that Carl Sagan described, that we humans could actually destroy the Earth, and the environmental movement was coming up strong at that time, and so that's how I got into the environment, was through my activism about the nuclear arms race.
The book takes place in 2062. Boston is mostly underwater, right?
Yeah.
How likely do you think this scenario is?
Well, I don't think of my novel as a prediction. I think of it as a warning, and I'm hoping very much that it's not true. But the sea level is rising very fast, and every time you hear a report from environmental scientists, they say, oh, this is happening a lot faster than we thought. It's accelerating.
The glaciers
the glacier melt and everything, that the prediction and the global warming and the sea rise and the rise of the temperature of the Earth. And we know that it's risen about 1 degree Fahrenheit in 30 years. If it only were to rise 4 degrees, it would be a huge, it sounds like a small amount, but it would be a catastrophic effect, because so any little tiny rise. So I'm thinking it's actually very possible that Boston would be underwater in the sense that it would be unusable. You know, it would be so much water up in the buildings that it would be impossible to use it. And so people in this particular novel are sort of on the seashore when they're in Arlington, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Seashore in Arlington, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So did you consult with scientists at all with this, or did any of scientists' friends say, you know, oh, this is likely or something like that?
Well, I don't need I mean, all scientists are.
No, but
they
this
don't need to be my friends.
No, but I mean, how accurate this, you know, you have all this catastrophic weather, which we're actually experiencing now. We were just discussing the huge droughts in Georgia. This is worse, it's almost as bad as the Dust Bowl. And
well, every single time I have a talk, there's some dire thing happening with the weather, and the front page of the New York Times today talks about 14 states being affected by this catastrophic drought. And, you know, a few weeks ago it was wildfires, and then it was floods, and tsunamis and earthquakes. And the thing is that the Earth is going out of balance, and it's going out of balance farther and faster, and that's what it's happening. And in a way, the Earth is fighting back, so it goes. That's why the extremes are happening with weather. I think this is only the beginning. I am sorry to say, but I think this is only we're seeing just the beginning of Earth going totally out of whack. Because even if we stop using fossil fuels now, the effect is still going to go on for a long time. So we have to plan for that. But this is my field. You know, the environment is my field, and I was an freelance environmental journalist for some years. And I read all the magazines. When I see an article about this, I always read it. So I'm up on the science.
Okay. Now, not only is the environment wrecked here in your novel, but you sort of it becomes a totalitarian state. Do you think governments such as, you know, totalitarian states become more attractive in chaos? I mean, look at Nazi Germany. It came with this economic chaos and things like that. Is that what you're thinking that might be able to?
Yes, I've actually read reports of places like people just making note that when chaos comes, when like, for example, what's going to happen, there'll be huge refugees. There'll be climate refugees, and we've already seen that with Katrina and so on. When climate refugees happen, what if you had Katrina happening 1,000 times all at the same time on the world? You'd have refugees. You would have uncontrolled refugees. That's one of the things that will create chaos. And when chaos comes, central governments kind of shrink and are displaced, and enclaves form, almost tribal enclaves. This is documented not only in history, but now, as you see in countries where there is chaos, small tribal units take over. And so I think this is politically very likely.
Now, I mean, you tell me you're Irish, you're Roman Catholic.
I'm not Roman Catholic. I'm a Unitarian.
No, but were you when you were raised, were you a Roman Catholic?
No, congregational.
Oh, okay.
But I'm still Irish.
You're still Irish.
Yeah.
And in the novel, the priests, you know, I was going to get to this,
Yes,
are
I
in
know.
control.
Yeah.
And we know what's going on with a lot of priests now, you know, and the conflict in the church. And here the priests are in control. And one of their roles is to deflower young girls. And any of this has it been influenced by the recent current controversies? Do you have a certain outlook on the church?
No, I think people turn to religion when they are scared, and it's very likely that that the kind of denial that people are going to, and are now going to, wrap themselves in. Oh no, this isn't really happening. It's very appealing to them that these priests are telling them that the earth is in trouble because they were bad and they sinned, and if they don't sin and they find God and they obey the priests, then everything will be fine. It's very tempting for people. Humans always look for that kind of solace when there's a terrible problem. So I think it's very likely that these priests would have an easy time taking over because people want to believe all of this. It's only one decree where they decide to deflower young girls, and that has also to do with the the decline in the birth rate because of if you've ever read the book called Our Stolen Future by Diane Dumanovsky and some other people, they talk about the huge reduction in pollution causing reduction in fertility. So that's one of the things that they're responding to. But they're doing it because they can. I mean, if you have total power, you'll be corrupt.
Mm-hmm. So total power corrupts.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is not a statement about the church, so to speak, or religion or anything, a personal statement?
It's not a personal statement. It's my own.
Are you a religious person?
I think I'm a good Unitarian.
Yeah.
What does that mean, though? I pray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Okay. I couldn't get anything out of you. I like that.
Well, I don't mind talking about my faith.
No, not at all. I had some other questions for you. Of course, we remember Casablanca. And it's still the same old story.
Yeah.
The fight for love and glory.
Yeah.
And it's in spite of all this stuff going on, there's some really sexy scenes, and there's lust and passion, and people are getting it on and getting hurt and all that stuff. So, I mean, this also a little, and I don't mean in a bad way, but there's a little soap opera-ish stuff in there too.
Yes, well, all good stories are about love and glory.
Yeah.
My first novel took place in the 2040s and was the preliminary to this one. This is a sequel to the first one. The first one is called What Love Can't Do, and it's available at Porter Square Books also. And
which, by the way, great independent bookstore. We were just there before the show.
Great independent bookstore.
They really help local authors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Porter Square Books is a gem for writers and for anyone who cares about culture. But where was I?
2040 or something.
Oh no, sex.
Yeah.
I shocked some of my friends by the amount of sex in my first novel, and I didn't displease them. They enjoyed it. But they said, "Wow," and I said, "Well, I really wanted to, partially it's sugarcoating because the message is sweeter when there's sex in it, but also I really emphasize in both my novels that people stay the same. They go on loving their children, they go on loving each other, they go on thinking about death and having to make dinner and trying to be the best kinds of people they can. And one of the people in my writers group, and I have a wonderful writers group, said to me, recently, he said, you always say that the novel is about global warming, but really, don't forget, it's about people and the effect on people of global warming. So that's much more accurate.
No, there's nothing cold and clinical about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very full of passion and very human.
So who's your favorite? I mean, there's Drake, who's the husband of this central character, Vita, who's a real functionary of this new totalitarian state, and he's very doctrinaire. And then there's Vita, who's, was going along with it, but, she's kind of pissed off about the whole thing. Her daughter has to go in with the priest, and she's disillusioned. And then there's Alex, who's in clandestine revolt with the,
Don't give away the plot.
I'm not giving away the plot. But what I'm saying to you is, how are you sympathetic to all of your characters? I mean, is there a character you like the best? Or?
Oh, I love them all. I even love...
Do you love Drake, too?
Drake, yes, I love Drake. I feel sorry for Drake. I love Diamond, and she's bad. And I love the way she's bad. And
Gloria?
I don't love Gloria, no. I don't love Gloria, that's true. I even love Father Rose, who's such an evil priest. And I wouldn't say I love him personally, but I love his character. I enjoyed forming his character.
Alex Cohen.
Well, he's my hero.
He's your hero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he does some bad things.
Yeah, he does some bad
things.
Yeah. But, we're not black and white. I mean, I'm sure you've done some things you regret.
Right, and he has reasons. He has reasons.
Yeah.
He has reasons for why he does what he does.
Well, Hitler had reasons for why he was doing it, but, we all have reasons.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, I wouldn't compare
I
Alex.
think we'll just go there.
Right.
No, Alex is just a human man, and a sweetie pie, actually.
Now, you're a screenwriter, right? Too, you want to.
Well, I did write a screenplay, and I was part of the Harvard Square Screenwriters group for about 3 or 4 years. A terrific group. They're still going on, and they're wonderful, wonderful. They even talked. They were going to make a movie out of my first book.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems to be
Yeah.
sort of cinematic
Yes.
approach to this. I mean,
Yes.
to talk about that, about how hard is it, how difficult it is. I mean, is it, how difficult is the task taking a novel and making it into a screenplay, if you were going to do that?
Well, I've looked at some. It's very interesting. There was Sense and Sensibility. I think the screenplay was written by Emma Thompson. I don't know if that can be. The screenplay of Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I'm very interested in screenplays. And partially because of the workshop I took and the screenplay I wrote, and it got good honorable
mention. Yeah.
First 25% of. It's a good screenplay. It's also about the future.